Hello and welcome back to the Backyard Football News Podcast, breaking down high school football between Pittsburgh and Morgantown. I'm Nathan Grella.
I'm Jeremiah Miller.
And we are back at you recapping Week 5 of the high school football season, looking ahead toward Week 6. Jeremiah, how are you doing this weekend? Or this past weekend, I guess.
All right. Penn State won. Ugly. But it was a good game. I mean, our offense drove down the field. We just couldn't hold on to the football.
After that kind of game, I would feel more confident in Penn State than less confident because
I agree.
Especially after like last year when you had one of those games against Illinois and you lost it.
Right.
So the fact that you came out with a win against Northwestern.
Exactly. No, trust me. Throughout that game, the Illinois game crept into the back of my mind many times. But yeah, no, it was good to see. Which we had last year. It was a great defense, and we lost a lot of guys off that defense. A lot of those guys are making plays on Sundays now. But now that our young defense is really good, and like you mentioned, Nathan, I feel a lot better, especially now we're heading into the bye week. We got a tough game, not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday at the Big House of Michigan. But and then I was, of course, at Acrisure Stadium yesterday. It was cool. I'll be forever able to say I was at the debut of Kenny Pickett.
Who knows if that'll be a good thing to say?
Yeah, no, I will say it was kind of. I wish I could go back to the high that was when we started to figure out that Kenny was going to go in. Definitely one of the top 5 moments I've seen in sports live. It's right up there. No, I mean seriously, it was really cool. And I will have to say I don't think Trubisky was the whole problem with the Steelers. I truthfully believe it goes back to our offensive play calling. But it just seemed like the team had a whole nother jolt when Kenny Pickett came into the game. And, he threw 3 interceptions. But if we're going to be honest, the first one Claypool should have caught. That was a deep ball. It was basically a punt. The second one was definitely, I will say, I will blame him a little for the second one. I think he should have thrown it away, the one to Freiermuth on the sideline that eventually led to the Jets game-winning drive. I will pin that on him. But then, the Hail Mary, it's a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Kind of, something's going to happen. It just was another interception.
Every pass was completed.
Yeah, I saw that after the game. 10 of 13 and 3 interceptions. But, I think, Tomlin's going to be and I think he already was. It's we'll evaluate both quarterbacks heading into this week, blah, 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 blah. But I think Pickett's the way you go with. I know he's heading into the monster. Those are the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo this coming weekend at Highmark Stadium, which I think is hilarious because Highmark Stadium's where the Riverhounds play in Pittsburgh. But anyway, I'm excited going forward. We'll see. He's a rookie. He threw 3 picks, but he's not the first ever rookie to throw a lot of interceptions,
He said they'd evaluate both quarterbacks?
Yeah, he said we'll see. We'll see.
You got 3 of them.
Yeah, Rudolph's been inactive. I saw a bunch of people going out when Pickett started throwing the interceptions. The crowd was chanting Kenny a lot. It was people. A bunch of people were tweeting. I think Mark Madden was the first one I saw. They were like, "When's the crowd going to start chanting Mason?"
Never. It would never happen.
That's what I mean.
Never happen.
No, but it was just funny. It was still really cool. It was cool to see Kenny get in there, and I did think the offense looked much better with him in there. But still losing to the Jets. But I feel a lot more optimistic about the offense as the season goes on. But we got a tough 4-game stretch at Buffalo, home for Tampa, and then at Miami and at Philly before the bye week. We got a tough 4-game stretch coming out. If we can go 2-2, I'd be thrilled. But I
think 1-3 is kind of a stretch even.
I agree. But the Steelers always pull out that one win that they shouldn't, though. So I do think the 1-3 is the most likely outcome.
All right, well, let's take a step back a couple days to the beautiful Friday Night Lights.
It was beautiful Friday.
Yes. I will talk about it more when we dive into the California Mapletown game. But where were you on Friday night?
KDKA TV studio.
Any games you were following rather closely?
Yeah, so my one coworker, Steve, was out shooting USC and Lebo. We'll talk about. I'll do more in depth when they were there. What game was on the point? Pine Richland and North Allegheny was on the point, so I watched that. Not heavily, but I did watch. Basically, same Pine Richland Ryan Palmieri show. I know we don't cover Pine Richland, but we've talked about Palmieri on the podcast before. And then another game out of our coverage area that we were at was up in Natrona Heights with Highlands and Mars. And I forget what the kid's name is, but number 4 for Highlands went off. He had like a receiving touchdown, passing touchdown, and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Highlands is one of those teams that's really going to jump in. They got Woodland Hills in an out-of-conference game this weekend. But
84 rushing yards given up through the season total, through 6 games. 6 games they've given up.
It's insane.
84 the whole season. Yeah, it's quite insane.
If they give up 10 points or less to Woodland Hills this week, which I think is possible, especially
definitely.
The way Woodland Hills is playing offense, like that any team
just lost to
do that.
Shaler, yeah.
But yeah, I feel like if Highlands puts on a show against Woodland Hills this Friday, they're a team that's definitely going to jump up in the state rankings. We're just waiting to see the result. 4A
is really interesting. Like you got McKeesport and Quippa, but I think there's a lot of teams behind. I mean, we've seen West Allegheny almost knock off Quippa. You know, Armstrong gave them Quippa a good game. Like 4A's really, really looks.
The question
even.
For me is Highlands a better team than Hampton was last year? Because the resumes are strikingly similar at this point in the season.
After the eye test, I say Highlands is better, but I didn't think of that point until you mentioned it. So
because both of those teams, Highlands and Armstrong, are in the same conference. They're going to play each other in a couple weeks, so we're going to be able to figure out who's the top dog in that.
I think we agree. We agree that Armstrong's much better than Hampton was last year.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the Caden Olson factor is huge there, but there's a couple other guys too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be a big test for Highlands, definitely, to see where they stand. But yeah, I never even considered because I wasn't. I mean, you weren't either. We weren't really high on Hampton last year, even though they went in undefeated. But yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even consider that.
The winner of that game, Armstrong and Highlands, you could probably write in as the number 4 seed in the playoffs behind McKeesport, Aliquippa, and Central Valley. So, all right, let's dive in and recap some games from Week 5, going down to 1A, the game of the week, and what a beautiful setting. It was my first time at California Stadium, and I'd already heard about...
You've never been to California?
No, I've been to so many California away games, but I've never been to their stadium before.
That's surprising.
Which is, I know. It is. Like, everybody was bragging about the sunset for years before I got it there, and then, of course, it had to be, the one night where it was, purple skies and everything.
Yeah.
So, with that view... and the sunset, it was incredible. One of the best settings in high school football that I've ever been to.
Yeah.
But California did not put on the same type of show, I will say, especially on offense. I mean, they really struggled against Mapletown. But, 52-20 the final. This is more of a 52-18 final, or no, 52-12 final, because California scored a late touchdown and 2-point conversion at the end. But your takeaway from the Maple scoring 52 points against California, who I think we can assume is either the 3rd or 4th best team in the Tri-County South.
Well, first off, before I get into the game, just so you know, just 'cause I'm a big geography buff, do you know that where the stadium and the school is that's the last corner section of the California school district possible? Where the houses were across the road?
Yeah.
Those kids go to Beth Center High School.
How about that?
Yeah, seriously. It's when I say it's the absolute last corner, that's kind of funny. But to the game, Mapletown really just put a definitive stamp on them being, I think, the favorite. Now, we'll talk about Monessen a little bit later, but Mapletown, I mean, and they, with Fanata, Stevenson, Evans, they got a three-headed monster over there. And I didn't watch this game, but my dad did, and my dad's coached football for over 20 years, so he knows a thing or two about the game, and he watched this game. He was very impressed by Mapletown's defensive line. And, he said they just dominated Cal, which Cal is known for usually having a pretty solid offensive line. And he said Mapletown just dominated in the trenches. And that's one step of winning. And you were there, so you can attest to it.
But I mean, that was one huge factor that stood out to me. It was just how overpowering they were in the trenches. And this is an aspect that you can attest to more because you played 1A Tri-County South football. These Mapletown Maples seniors have literally started 4 straight years. And you talk about a guy like Brody Evans, who's also a senior. He sat behind one of the best quarterbacks in Mapletown history for 3 years, right, in Max Vanata. So he knows a thing or two about this offense as well. So, as a guy who has been in that situation where you've, these guys on the offensive line, Isaac Hall, Cohen Stout. Like, these guys have literally been there for 4 years and played meaningful roles. How important is that, for a small team like that to have those guys have that continuity there? And do you think it could carry over maybe into the playoffs a little bit?
You hope for it to, but to what you were saying, yeah, I mean, I can attest 1,000 times over. I got thrown into the Wolves as a freshman at West Green and started all 4 years. Several of my buddies did. And, yeah, you take your bumps and bruises, your freshman and sophomore years and, becoming your junior and senior year like a lot of these guys are for Mapletown now. You really, you take that, the bumps and bruises you took and take that energy into meaningful football games. Like you're seeing from Mapletown this year. And same with Mapletown in general. They've gotten beaten up the last few years. Last year was what we thought could be a sign of things to come, and now it's coming to fruition this year with this Mapletown team. So it's neat to see. I can relate a lot. Without looking at the records, I'm pretty sure they didn't win a game maybe a year or 2 years ago, maybe even 3. But I didn't win a game my freshman year. We went 0-9, and then we crept up. We were 3-7. Then we went 7-3 back-to-back years and won a conference championship. And it looks like Mapletown's going to be on track to do that and probably have a little bit better of a record than 7-3. So yeah, I can attest completely with how the bumps and bruises and battles you lose younger, if you can just stick with it. It definitely helps you propel to when you're a junior and senior, and that's what Mapletown's doing right now.
Yeah, in all my years covering high school football, I've never seen a unit be as cohesive as Mapletown was on Friday night, where it's like you can tell that these guys have stuck with each other for years, and that they're connected. So that's something exciting to see, and that's something that I didn't really see from a lot of other Tri-County South teams over the past couple years that won the conference, where it's just like they're like connected on a different level. So yeah, good on Mapletown. We'll see how they look in a couple weeks against Monessen at home for senior night. That's going to be a game that probably will decide the Tri-County South. Obviously, Monessen still has to play West Green and Carmichael's, but we'll see down the road there. In 3A, I don't know if you were following this game any closely, but Mount Pleasant won 45-28 over Greensburg-Salem. Looks like Mount Pleasant is going to be that third team in the Interstate Conference.
Yeah, solid win by Mount Pleasant. We talked about it last week. We weren't too sure about Greensburg-Salem. They're kind of really inconsistent. And, they lost by, 13 here, but, more than 13. My math's awful. But, yeah, it's still a 45-28 victory. Good win for Robbie Labuda and the Vikings.
Greater Latrobe looks like they made a statement. They went up to Hiller Stadium and won 31-6. The Wildcats now kind of in the driver's seat, and they did lose by 10 to Thomas Jefferson, so they're probably not, going to be that third team from the Big Seven. But I think this game kind of clinched them a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And Greater Latrobe, I think, is a very solid football team for sure. They've, lost a couple tough ones to Laurel Highlands and TJ, but they've beaten who they needed to, and I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've played Ringgold yet. So
they haven't played Connellsville yet.
Yeah, so there's probably 2 wins. So, yeah, I think Greater Latrobe is going to get into the playoffs.
In 5A, Bethel Park played out of conference against Penn Hills and made a statement 21-point victory for the Blackhawks. I don't know what Penn Hills is right now. Like, you saw how they collapsed against North Hills. Like, do we still think they're top tier 5A team, or are they kind of just like middling around? Like, especially after this game, like I feel like there's definitely a step above where Bethel Park is at right now.
It's tough to say. I mean, we are just now getting into October, and Penn Hills is one of these teams that like October's like really where they like start to get into their rhythm, but. Bethel's just a really good football team, and if you don't come in to play, they're gonna kick your butt pretty much, and that's what they did to Penn Hills. So I still think Penn Hills is a good football team. I might think differently of them as a contender to win 5A, but I still think they're a pretty solid football team.
You look at that conference out there with Pine Richland, Penn Hills, and all them. Right now, Shaler's in the lead in the conference, and Shaler has only played one conference game, and that was against Woodland Hills, which they won. So it doesn't look like Woodland Hills is going to win the conference.
Yeah.
Pine Richland lost to Penn Hills.
Yeah, I would have to say Pine Richland's the favorite just because they are playing really good football now. It's kind of funny because I did watch the Pine Richland Penn Hills game, and coming out of that, and Pine Richland came back and almost won that game. But really, the second half of the Penn Hills game for Pine Richland since then, Pine Richland's been on a whole monster of their own. Knocked off undefeated #1 team in the WPIL, North Allegheny, this past Friday. And, Pine Richland's really rolling right now. I would say they're probably the favorite in that conference.
Yeah, we'll see. But, it could even come down to Shaler Pine Richland, which is nuts. Like, I think Shaler will probably win the North Hills game. So, like,
I don't know.
Literally anybody could come out of that conference. Even you can't even count out North Hills right now. Back down to 1A, Carmichael's went to Beth Center. They won 35-8. Name to remember from this game, Billy White went kind of nuts for the Carmichael's Mighty Mikes, which is good to see. He's a name that we haven't really talked about a lot so far this year. Jefferson Morgan went up to Bentworth 28-25. The Rockets take down the Bearcats. They get another conference win. It's really going to come down to that Jefferson Morgan West Green game and see if Jefferson Morgan can get past the Pioneers before they even get to play the Mighty Mikes. But it's hard to say that they'll get a playoff spot, but we're definitely rooting for them.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm rooting for Jefferson over West Green, but yeah, no, it's going to be pretty cool though, because I think that Jefferson has a pretty good offense. We'll see if they can stop teams from scoring, and that's kind of the same thing we'll talk about with West Green here coming up when they went to Monessen, and look at that score, 62-35.
Yeah, I mean, Monessen, last week we were debating if Monessen had enough athletes and stuff to get through the West Green defense and put up a ton of points. Turns out they do. 62 points for the Greyhounds. So they're a team that's going to be rolling heading into that Mapletown game. So
yeah, Monessen had 2 rushers of over 200 yards in this game. And Colin Brady had his share. He had 150, and it was West Green was up first 7, and then Monessen made it 8-7. Then West Green was up 13-8. And then it was all Monessen after that.
I will say, Jeremiah, you are looking very smart right now, because at the beginning of the season when we were doing our Tri-County South rankings, you were like, I kind of think Mapletown and Monessen are going to be the final 2 teams standing, and I don't think anybody anywhere was saying that. Even I was like, well, I mean, we were wildly off on Beth Center, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I mean, I look good because Monessen and Mapletown have lived up to the hype. At least my height, but yeah, I mean, I thought Beth Center would easily roll through this conference coming into the season. That just obviously wasn't the case.
And we kind of put California at number 2. Because,
I did not. You did.
I put California at number 2 just because it's like, California is like an established brand. Like, you kind of have to put them in the top 2, top 3 somewhere. But yeah, I wasn't willing to take that step on Monessen and Mapletown, and you were, so I congratulate you on that.
It's kind of funny. Like Monessen, I think Monessen's always been one of these teams. They always have the athletes and they always have the talent. It just is always like how their first couple games go. If they're winning like they are right now, that team's really going to want to gel together and play for each other. But if they start losing, they'll drop left and right like flies, quitting the team and everything. And it happened even when I was in high school. And then Mapletown. I always heard when we were in 5th and 6th grade, my West Green class, and we were winning championships. People were always talking about Mapletown's 2nd and 3rd graders, always how good they were and winning and nothing, right? And now these kids right now. So it's good to see Mapletown being good like this, and Monessen. Monessen especially. Monessen, just to think where they were just 2 years ago. And this is one of the most storied programs in all of Pennsylvania, not even just Western Pennsylvania. To see the Greyhounds succeeding like they are, it's really a good sight to see.
As we continue, Jeremiah, let's talk about Bishop Canevin, Fort Cherry. Trendy pick. The Rangers, the under, Matt Sieg, all the hype around them. They were at home. Bishop Canevin came in 60-7.
Yeah, Bishop Canevin just took care of business. Jason Cross had over 300 yards passing in this game. And the athletes for Bishop Canevin just took over the young athletes for Fort Cherry, and that was the decider in this one.
And the lower 2 teams, probably in the Whitfield, Carlinson went to Avella, and the Birds pick up their first win of the season, 22-14. Avella gets a conference win. Looks like they will finish second to last, and Carlinton will finish last in that
The
conference.
penultimate team, the Valley Eagles.
That is a Lanny word, isn't it?
Penultimate, second to last.
This might be the greatest under and win pick that I've ever had on this podcast. Cornell at Burgettstown. The Blue Devils at home winning 26-6. Cornell has these games where they look amazing, and then they have these games where they look like they're like a middle-of-the-pack team in 1A. So what is your takeaway from this one? Now that it seems like Burgettstown is the third team to beat now.
I think Burgettstown's pretty good. I think that's what it really comes down to. We've been thinking that for a couple weeks now, but Burgettstown just plays really, really good defense. And they put 26 points up on the board, too, as well, but holding Cornell to 6 points. Very impressive win for the Blue Devils.
And it looks like, Burgettstown still has a lot of teams ahead of them, too. They all remember, they were winning at halftime against Bishop Canevin. They still got Olsh on the schedule, so we'll see what the true ceiling is for the Blue Devils as they go down the stretch. Olsh at Charters Houston. The Bucks lose 45-0. Charters Houston is out of it. I think it's pretty safe to say they still got some easier games on the schedule. They still got Avella. They still got Carlinton, but it looks like Charters Houston is not going to be a playoff team, which is disappointing. That's not where we thought they would be at the beginning of the year. Beaver went to Brentwood, and when I put the score in originally, I had the score swapped, so I thought Brentwood beat Beaver 35-6. That is not the case. I was like, I got to double check that, and Beaver won 35-6 over Brentwood. Charleroi at Keystone Oaks. The Golden Eagles at home 42-0. Charleroi once again goes scoreless in the game. Stowe Rocks at McGuffey, Jeremiah.
Yeah, I saw this one. This one really
0-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
6-0 final. What happened here?
That's a great question. I really don't know what happened. I mean,
turnovers happened.
I have no idea what happened, seriously, other than McGuffey lost by 6.
You look in their past 11 scores before this game. 6 of them came on defense, which is an insane statistic. McGuffey does not throw the ball very much. So, is your confidence in Stowe Rocks a little bit shaky in that offense?
Yeah, honestly, it really is. I mean, they put up a lot of points. I mean, they did on a Keystone Oaks team, who I think Keystone Oaks is a very good football team, but, are they up there with Steel Valley? No. Steel Valley beat Stowe Rocks. Are they up there with Sarah Catholic? No. Are they up there with Wash High even? I don't think. We'll get a real feel for Stowe Rocks this week, I feel, when they head to Prexyland.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if McGuffey exposed a way to beat Stowe Rocks, and that is running the ball and not turning over, and Wash High has some running backs. So Davon Fuse out of the backfield. You got Ed Lewis and a couple other guys too. Waynesburg at Washington. Washington wins 59-14 in the I-79 rivalry. Elizabeth Forward at Southmoreland 42-6. The Warriors win. South Allegheny at Bell Vernon. Bell Vernon takes care of business 50-0 on the beach. Connellsville at home hosting Hampton. Hampton wins 55-19, out of conference win for the Talbots. McKeesport at Ringgold 42-0. The Tigers take care of business. Bobby Boyd, his first game back, gets a couple touchdowns on the board. TJ at Laurel Highlands, Jeremiah 31-24. The Mustangs, their first win over Thomas Jefferson in school history. What a big win for Rodney Gallagher and company.
Yeah, maybe the biggest win. You could put it right up there with last year's playoff win. This might be the biggest win in Laurel Highlands history to beat Thomas Jefferson. And talk about Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson 3-3 off to their worst start in the Bill Churpak era.
It's insane. Especially going into the year with all they had back. Elias Lippincott and Jordan Mayer and all these guys, it just has not showed up on the scoreboard at all, especially on offense. So a little bit concerning for TJ. Do you have any concerns about them going into the playoffs? It feels like they're just a significant step below, the McKeesports, the Aliquippas, the Central Valleys right now.
Yeah,
even like the Highlands and the Armstrong.
It's one of those things. It's hard to go against Thomas Jefferson and Bill Churpak when it counts.
I mean, a couple throws go the wrong way against Greater Latrobe. We're looking at 2-4 TJ.
Right. Also, TJ's probably not going to host a first-round playoff game. TJ's going to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs. And I will say this. I'd hate to be whatever school's hosting. I would, because I mean that's a team that, these guys, these seniors on this team have won a state championship. They've won a state title. They know what that's like. So they've won 2 state titles actually.
Yeah.
So they know what it's like to get to the postseason. They know what it's like to win. They've tasted it before. So that's going to be a really, really, really scary team heading into the playoffs. So wherever TJ will end up, that's going to be. I'd hate to be hosting them.
Yeah.
I'd say that'd be like a 6-11 matchup.
Yeah, there's 13 teams that make the playoffs in 4A, so I feel like they'll right be on the edge, right, for a home playoff game in the first round. I think they'll probably get it, but because you take away those 3 conference winners and give them buys, so I think they'll be right on the edge. But we'll see what the stage holds for Thomas Jefferson. Either way, you're looking at a tough matchup if you're right on the edge of a home playoff game. Baldwin at Peters Township, 50-13. The Indians get the win over Baldwin. South Fayette at home hosting Moon, 49-14. Not a big surprise there from the Allegheny 6 Conference. This is a game that you watched, and I'll let you take over. Upper St Clair at Mt Lebo, 17-10. Panthers go to Mt Lebo against their big rival, get the win, stay undefeated. Upper St Clair looking mighty dangerous after this one.
Yeah, 17-10 doesn't really attest to how this game never felt this close.
Even though Mt Lebo was winning for most of it, right?
No. It never felt this close. Upper St. Clair just dominated. And the score doesn't say, but like I said, it never felt that it was really a one-score game. Nonetheless, Upper St. Clair is the best team in 5A, and I think that they are one of the best teams in the state of Pennsylvania. And I don't mean just in 5A. I'm talking in just the state in general. I think Upper St. Clair is one of the best teams in the state of Pennsylvania.
Right now, they are ranked 3rd in the state. If they beat Bethel Park, you could see them jumping up to number 2, possibly.
Who's 2? I know 1.
Oh, man, I got to pull it up.
So 1's I'm Hontep. However you pronounce that.
And 1 is actually Upper Dublin.
Really?
Yes. I'm going to pull it up here.
All right, that's insane. But anyway, I need to get in on these.
Upper Dublin, number 1. Exeter Township, number 2. St. Clair, number 3.
Where is Imhotep?
Imhotep is 2
Imhotep or whatever?
Imhotep is 2-2 on the season.
Yeah, they lost to the Steelers and the Jets. Yeah, wow. Okay. But anyway, they're lucky I don't get in on these meetings, but
you can? Are you free Sunday night?
I'd make a lot of friends, but anyway, my agreement. I said, no, where's Bethel?
Bethel is an honorable mention.
It's a joke. But anyway, still, they're just, I still think, like I said, St. Clair's one of the best teams in 5A, and I think they're one of the best teams in the state of Pennsylvania.
And we'll be talking about that game coming up here soon. I mean, if Bethel wins that game, you're looking at Bethel jumping up to, 5th or 6th or 7th. So we'll see how that plays out for them. Central Catholic at Cannon Mac. I think Cannon Mac was winning this game 20-10.
Yeah.
And Central Catholic came storming back, wins 31-20. Devastating for Cannon Mac. Just awful. The fact that they haven't won a game against Central Catholic in how many years, and I think it's 60-plus years or something. Yeah. So how devastating is this? I mean, Cannon Mac, if they won this game, they would have clinched a playoff spot. And they are able to snarl defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, just a tough loss all around for the Big Macs. Kudos to Central Catholic, though, coming back and at a hostile environment and, pulling through with the win. But, Cannon Mac had an upset bid brewing, but just wasn't able to hold on for the victory.
The 6A format for the WPIAL is absolutely wild, especially with North Allegheny losing to Pine Richland. North Allegheny's still in the driver's seat with those 2 conference wins, but I mean, anybody could come in second right now. Central Catholic is 1-2, but everybody else is 1-1. And Cannon Mac is going to be jockeying for a spot. They've already beat Seneca Valley. It's really just going to come down to that Lebo game for the last playoff spot, possibly. Do you think the Big Macs have the juice in them to get over the line?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to say. I mean, it's such a toss-up. It really is.
And looking at the 6A rankings picture, North Allegheny is number 10. They are the only District 7 team that even shows up. I think 6A has been an issue this year as far as the WPIAL is concerned. I mean, you look at teams like Seneca Valley, I think they lost to Penn Hills. And you look at Lebo, lost to Bethel Park. So, like, you're looking at a bunch of 5A teams that you could probably safely say are better than a lot of the 6A teams.
I agree. I think Upper St Clair would win 6A.
I mean, all things considered, that is probably a problem when you look at the state playoffs. So, in that side of the bracket, like, the WPIAL winner is going to have to go up against State High in the playoffs. State High is ranked 4th in the state now.
They'll beat State High.
I don't know. State High has a freshman running back who apparently is like the next Quentin Martin or something. So we'll see. Let's look over the final totals. Jeremiah, I don't think I told you this before the podcast. I do not think it has ever been this close at this point in the season. You are still in the lead with 89 games picked correctly, but I'm 1 point behind with 88. So it might come down to the wire in the last couple weeks. Your thoughts?
Yeah, a little too close for comfort. That's all. But still out in the lead.
Amigos of the week this week. I got to go with him. Rodney Gallagher took over the game against Thomas Jefferson. 2 touchdown passes, threw for 215 yards. We haven't really praised Rodney Gallagher's arm a lot on this podcast, but I'm going to do it. Really showed a lot against a really tough secondary that Thomas Jefferson has.
Yeah, I'm going with Chris Sabrone from Peters Township. 12 of 18, 329 yards passing, and getting a big win against Baldwin. We're in a game where this kid got benched the week before against Upper St Clair. So great to see him bounce back and have a big game.
And speaking of those Upper St. Clair Panthers, as we dive into Week 6 previews, I think this was a game that in 5A, everybody at the beginning of the season looked and circled and said, you know, this could have a lot of momentum behind it. And both of these teams, Bethel Park 5-1, only lost to Central Catholic. Upper St. Clair undefeated. They're at home. So much juice behind this, but like, if you really go down to the brass tacks, this game could finish with a 3-0 total. Honestly, the way both of these defenses are playing.
Yeah, don't say that, but yeah, I mean, it really could. I mean, these are two of the best defensive teams in the state. I love both of these teams, truthfully, and I mean that. I love both these teams. They are fun to watch. They're kind of an old school WPIL football team. Defense wins championship. You know, they have great offenses, but I wouldn't call them flashy by any means. You know, they just kind of get the job done. And boy, the battle of Route 19 is bigger than ever right now, with these two teams being as good as they are.
Obviously, Bethel Park still has to play to Peters, but assuming Bethel Park gets a job done there, this is for the title, correct? This is for the conference.
Yeah, I mean, if St. Clair wins, they pretty much clinch the conference. But, you know, Bethel and Peters is still a big game nonetheless.
So both of these teams are pretty stacked in the trenches on both sides. Looking at the athletes, though, Austin Kai, Tanner Pfeffer on the Bethel Park side. You look at Julian Dahlem, now he's not sick. He's going to be playing. He got a game under his belt last week. And then you get a guy like Jamal Brown in the backfield, Aiden Besselman out wide. So who, in your mind, is leading the way as far as athletes?
Oh, man, I mean, both these teams are really even as far as the athletes go. You know, you just named them all. You know, guys come to mind, like you said, Kai, even Gavin Mold, you know, for Bethel's big, Jamal Brown, Aiden Besselman. Like, I mean, these are just, you know, this is why these teams are the way they are. They have star power. It's hard for me to say. I would say, I don't even know. I don't even want to say, like, who's better because they are just really that even of teams.
And, Aiden Besselman, a wide receiver, getting covered by Austin Kai.
Yeah,
a matchup.
That's definitely the matchup to watch for, I feel like, in this game. Arguably the best cover corner in 5A versus arguably the best receiver in 5A.
It's going to be crazy. Let's pick the game. Even spread. Jeremiah, who you got?
I'm going St. Clair. It's at home. I think this is St. Clair's conference. I think this is St. Clair's year. I think they have more star power.
I agree with everything you said, except for the winner. Bethel Park's defense, I think, is a step above any other defense that I've seen. The way, especially with a guy like Gavin Mull at linebacker against a sophomore quarterback, I really like the way that Bethel Park is going to play this game on defense. I think they hold them to under 10, and Bethel Park finds a way to get it done on offense. They haven't really done that. They haven't really played that way so far this season. I think they're able to find a way to get it done, score points, get enough to win. So I got Bethel Park winning. In 1A, Monessen at Carmichael's. And this game, it's sketchy because both of these teams score a lot of points. I think Monessen has the better defense. Monessen 8.5-point road favorites. Who do you have?
I'm going to go under, but the Greyhounds still win. Monessen Carmichael's a tough place to play, and I think Monessen, my dad and I were talking, I think Monessen's a better home team than they are a road team, which I think everybody is, but especially with the Greyhounds. I think the Greyhounds still come out and win, but I think just by a touchdown. I'm thinking like 22-16. I
don't know if that's that low scoring, but we'll see. I mean, obviously Monessen's defense is very good, but I mean Carmichael you're seeing some athletes emerge for Carmichael, so we'll see how that one ends up. In 2A, Wash High at Stowe Rocks. If this game was at Wash High, it would definitely be the game of the week, all things considered, but since it's at Stowe Rocks, just a little bit too far out of our range, but 13.5-point favorites, the Vikings are at home. We mentioned how the Stowe Rocks offense might be a little bit questionable, and McGuffey might have figured out a way to beat them. I got Wash High with the under and win.
Absolutely,
going to Stowe Rocks.
I agree.
I think they got all the momentum.
I think this is where Wash High puts their stamp on the Century Conference. I think Wash High comes away with a huge win and upends the Stowe Rocks Vikings and really shows that Wash High is the championship contender out of the Century and not the Vikings.
Are you a little nervous about the Prexies secondary facing up against Josh Jenkins and that Diego Ellis and all them?
No, I think Wash High's defense is ready for the test. I do. I think they look back at the Sarah Catholic game. Mike Bosnick is a championship coach for a reason, and they'll find a way, and they'll be fine against the Vikings air raid.
Back down into 1A, Beth Center at Bentworth, probably the two bottom teams in the Tri-County South, even spread. Who you got?
Give me Beth Center. I think Beth Center finally shows a glimpse of something, and I'm going to go with the Bulldogs.
Beth Center's been dealing with some suspensions, some guys being out with injuries and stuff. I think Bentworth is a more solid team. That's why I got the Bearcats there, but I think it's going to be a close one. This might be in lieu of some previous Jefferson Morgan Bentworth games from the last couple of years where you saw 140 points being scored. You might see something like that here. California at West Green. The Pioneers at home at Kennedy. They host California, trying to get a conference win under their belt after that Mapletown game. It's at West Green. West Green can score a lot of points. I haven't seen, California go up against a strong team, at least a decent team, and be able to score a lot of points. So I got the under, but I still think Cal wins. Obviously, Cal, has not won at Kennedy Field in a while. So I think they're able to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to go over, though. I think California's going to come out just plain old ticked off after how they lost to Mapletown. I think this game's close for a while, but I think Cal puts their stamp off, and they take care of business against West Green.
Mapletown goes to Jefferson, return to the rivalry. Does that play a factor, or is Mapletown just going to bulldoze the Rockets?
I think Mapletown just bulldozes the Rockets. Give me the over. I think Jefferson is going to try to, do what they've done, but Mapletown's just a better football team than they are.
Avella going to Fort Cherry, over on the 28.
Yeah, over. Matt Sieg might have 300 yards rushing.
Chargers Houston at Carlinton. The only reason the Bucks are 28-point favorites on the road. The only reason I'm picking the under is because I question if Chargers Houston can score more than 28 points in a game.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go under as well because I think this game reminds me a little later in the season last year, but reminds me of, remember Chargers Houston Waynesburg last year in a game Chargers Houston had no business being that close against, and Chargers Houston was a much better football team last year. So yeah, for that reason I agree with you. I'm going to say under.
Brentwood going to Waynesburg. Brentwood, the Spartans, 28-point road favorites. I'm going with the under. I don't really know why, but I feel like both of these teams are quite bad. So usually when those two teams face off, it's a close game and it's interesting. So under, but Brentwood probably wins by more than 2 touchdowns at least.
I'm going to go over. I just think Waynesburg's that bad, and I think Brentwood takes advantage. I think they're just a little bit better.
Hopewell going to Keystone Oaks. The Golden Eagles 21-point favorites at home. Hopewell hasn't been completely awful this season, but I think Keystone Oaks is still a pretty good step above them. So give me the over on the 21.
Yep, I'm going to take over as well. I think Keystone Oaks just going to take care of business against the Vikings.
McGuffey going to Charleroi. 28-point favorites are the Highlanders. Over.
Yeah, pretty easy over, especially McGuffey looks like a lot better football team after a 6-0 loss to Stowe Rocks.
Bell Vernon at Greensburg-Salem. The Leopards, 28-point favorites on the road. They win this one by more than 28.
Yep, Quentin Martin, big day. Jake Jedico as well has a big game. The big 2 for them. And, yeah, Greensburg-Salem has a rough night against Bell Vernon.
We are in the middle of the Bell Vernon pillaging the 3A interstate. It's going to happen for the next couple of weeks, so just prepare yourselves. Mount Pleasant at Elizabeth Ford. The Warriors, 28-point favorites at home. If you remember this game from last season, it was the Steelers game of the week, and Elizabeth Ford ran away with it. I think that happens this season as well, over with the Warriors.
Yeah, I think Zion White and Zach Boyd are just that good. And, Wilmer had 146 yards rushing last game, so now it looks like they have not only a passing game, but a run game as well. So, yeah, I like Elizabeth Forward. And I wouldn't say that Bell Vernon will run through Elizabeth Forward. I think that's going to be a really great game we'll see later this month.
Southmoreland, South Allegheny, this game could be for a playoff spot. And, obviously whoever wins has to beat Greensburg-Salem. But nonetheless, this is a very important game for both teams. Scotty's going to South Allegheny, even spread. Give me Southmoreland to get the win.
I'm going to go with the Gladiators. I think this is their first win at their new stadium. I think Deshaun Carter has a big game. Give me South Allegheny.
Connellsville going to McKeesport, the easiest over this week.
Yeah, pretty easy. McKeesport's the best team in the state of Pennsylvania at 4A.
Greater Latrobe at home, they're hosting Ringgold. They pick up a conference win. They move to 2-2 en route to a playoff spot.
Yep, easy over. Ringgold stinky.
Trinity at TJ.
You can laugh.
I don't want to laugh.
Well, you're laughing now.
Those Ringgold fans, you know how they are.
Well, they're not as bad as these fans.
Trinity at TJ. 21.5-point favorites at home for Thomas Jefferson. Man, Bill Churpak, get it under control, man.
Dude, those kids, I would hate to be those kids in practice today.
We say that.
I know we say that. We said, yeah, no. I feel like we said that last year a couple times, but nonetheless, TJ's gonna whoop on Trinity, and no, not because I'm a Trinity stickler. I'm honestly not. I just do it because you people feed into it. But I just think it's a bad week to play TJ, whoever it is.
Cannon Mac going to Baldwin. Easy over.
Yeah, easy over. Cannon Mac might score 70.
Peters Township at Moon, easier over.
Yeah, easier over. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if Moon can get a first down in this game, I'd be shocked.
South Fayette, 22-point favorites going to Plum. Plum's a tough place to play. I don't have full confidence in South Fayette yet. I know you are very high on South Fayette right now, but Plum's they're a tough team to go up against, especially over there. So give me the under, but I still think South Fayette comes out with a win.
Yeah, good pick. I got the under as well, just because, like you said, Plum is a tough place to play at. They play good defensive sound football. I think South Fayette still gets the victory. I'm thinking like 24-12.
A couple of 1A Saturday games will start at 1 o'clock. Olsh hosting Burgettstown. Olsh 14-point favorites at home. You know what? I don't have any rationale behind this pick, but I'm sticking with Burgettstown. Give me the under, but Olsh still wins.
Yeah, give me the over. Olsh wins by 15. 15.
Just have to be that guy.
Yep. But no, I don't know about 15, but I think Olsh will get the over. But I don't think it's over by much. Like I think Burgettstown, like how it was 26, they beat Cornell 26-6. I think we might see a final score like that. Like I don't think Burgettstown loses by 20 or more.
Cornell going to Bishop Canevin in a WPIAL playoff semifinal rematch. Despite that, Bishop Canevin at home are 28-point favorites. This is not on grass. This is on turf. Give me Canevin by more than 28.
Yeah, give me over as well. If Cornell were able to beat Burgestown, I think I would have taken the under on the spread. I would say your spread would be different as well, but
Yeah.
I'm going to take the safe pick, and I'm going to go to the over.
And let's cut to Amigo Watch. This is the players that you should watch out for this week. For me, it's Wash Eye and Stowe Rocks, and I got Ed Lewis coming out of the backfield for the Washington Praxies. He gets a couple big touchdowns for Wash Eye, and they beat Stowe Rocks and are in the state rankings next week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Nathaniel Deans, heading to a tough place to play. Plum Borough, home of Pat McAfee, home of Kyle Dawson, current home of my coworker Rich Walsh. So I'm going with Nathaniel Deans as my Amigo of the week, or my Amigo Watch, rather. I think he has a big game for South Fayette and a tough place to play. That's Plum.
All right, that'll just about wrap up the podcast. Jeremiah, how are you feeling about this Week 6 slate of games?
I feel like so much has been answered, but so much has been unanswered at the same time.
I definitely feel that way.
So, there's still, a lot to be said about this season. The biggest game for me is St. Clair Bethel. That's the biggest game for me. I mean, that rivalry means so much. I mean, those schools are just a couple miles apart. It's basically the battle for South Hills Village.
And with that, the perfect end to a great podcast. We will plug this podcast away. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to go check us out on all podcast platforms. That is Audacity, or not Audacity. What am I saying? That's Apple Podcasts.
One job.
I did have one. I say this every week, and I always forget one thing.
One job.
Spotify, Google Podcasts, all those places. You make sure to go check us out on YouTube as well. If you want to represent us on the sidelines at games, go check out the merch. It's in the description below. Jeremiah, did you go check out that merch?
I did. You definitely need to go. Definitely need to go buy some if you're listening.
It's very good. It's very good. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to go support us as well in the link below. Make sure to go check out all PA football news content, the state rankings that will be coming up soon that we reference every week, as well as the preview articles, etc., recap articles, pictures, everything you need. Aside from that, Jeremiah, this has been the Backyard Football News Podcast. I'm Nathan Grella.
I'm Jeremiah Miller.
And we'll see you guys next week as we're beginning to start winding down the season. It is almost playoff projection time, which is the best part of the year. So, see you guys next week.